All right, so we should be live now on this thing here, and would love to hear in the comments how the quality is coming through and if the audio is also good. Using a little bit of a different setup right now with a bigger camera, should be a little bit better quality as well, especially the audio should be much better. So I did this setup to be able to do a little bit better live stream for you guys. There's been some quality things last time, and people have been asking like, what are you using, what kind of equipment? So I did a little bit of an upgrade using my big camera right now, and this is sort of like a gaming setup here as well. Let me just move this little camera here so it looks better. Awesome, good to have you guys here. So today we're going to be talking about mistakes on the fitness journey, all right? And this is a journey, obviously, that doesn't happen overnight, as you guys have already figured out. If you've been going to the gym, if you've been doing anything that will push you outside of the comfort zone or get you really pushed hard, it's not gonna happen overnight. And great, guys, thanks for the feedback in the comments. Love it. Glad that this actually worked out. And today we're going to be talking about very important concepts about the fitness journey as a whole and some of the mistakes that I personally made that I could have completely avoided and that were unnecessarily making the journey harder and also making my life much harder, especially when it comes to achieving results. And they added a lot of stress to my whole life, and I think I would have gotten much better results if I actually had better focus, or if I had actually kind of set my mindset right from the beginning, which now I do with my clients when they're on their stuff, and I'm like, oh look, this is how you need to approach this, this is how the expectations are, this is what you can expect, this is what will happen, and we can get pretty close to knowing what's going to occur. And that's actually one of the first things that really having is helpful is right expectations, to know how the journey goes. Because a lot of stuff that I knew back in the day, and it's still out there, is that this whole thing like transforming your body will happen overnight. And a lot of even testimonials and success stories that you're gonna see are talking about transforming a body or losing a decent amount of fat in a specific period of time. And while that's really possible, it's possible to lose a very large amount of fat in a short amount of time. What I'm talking about, let's say 12-week period, you can definitely lose 15 to 20 pounds of fat, which is a large number. But here's the difference. The difference is that in a 12 to 16-week period, you can potentially reveal a great physique, but you can't necessarily build a great physique. And I'm going to tell you guys what's the difference. Revealing a great physique is a physique that you've already built to a certain level, and maybe it's covered by a lot of body fat, and now you are looking to get leaner, and now you reveal everything that you built up until that point. That's considering that you've already invested the time to build, you pushed yourself, you're getting much stronger, your technique is much better, everything is going really well, and then at some point you decide, hey, I'm going to go through a fat loss phase to reveal all the muscle that I built underneath. And the revelation, yes, it may take 12 to 16 weeks, a good diet, or let's say even longer, but let's say 6 months. But then we're again talking about months. But to actually build a physique that is very impressive, then when people see you on the beach, people are like turning heads, and it's something out of the ordinary, right? So it's above average. So for example, yesterday I went to the beach here in Playa del Carmen in Mexico, where I'm at right now, and me and my girlfriend were taking some pictures. And you can see, like when you're taking some photos, people are definitely noticing. People are like, okay, like who is this guy? What is he doing here? And you're definitely standing out. So you're not being average anymore, right? So people will definitely notice, okay, this is a guy who actually invested the time and the effort to do that. But of course, I wasn't looking like that in the first 6 months of my training. Very far from that. People would say, well, look, yeah, he does do something, but it doesn't look that impressive. It's not that much different from just the norm, and it takes a while to get there. So that's what kind of one of the first things that got me confused when I started out was the belief, well, yeah, you see all these transformation photos. It's like a 12-week transformation, some even 8 weeks transformation, some are, like 2-week transformations. And you're like, damn, like I can build a great physique in just 2 months, in a couple of weeks. And the truth is that you will build a better physique in that amount of time, but it's not going to be anywhere near your full potential or where you actually can go. And don't get discouraged by that first phase or that first couple of months when you see that the physique that you built isn't quite there yet. Like you're gonna be like, oh shit, why am I not getting the types of results that those other guys on transformation photos are getting? Yeah, that's the reason, because those guys probably have built already muscle or have already trained or engaged in sports where they were lifting or doing something where they've built a decent amount of lean body mass, or maybe they're genetic outliers, which is also something that, it's happening there. Most people don't realize is that, you do need some time, and if you are a genetic outlier, you can actually get it in let's say a year. But if you're a natural lifter, which most people don't talk about this because YouTube is filled with guys that take drugs and they're not natural, like simply, and people compare to natural lifters. And I'm gonna have to check here some of this stuff in the chat. Give me a second, guys, just to check if there's any lag or anything like that. Cool. So yeah, when we're talking about naturals or non-naturals, and that's one thing you don't want to compare yourself, is someone who is taking drugs or someone who is really not doing this whole journey and this whole thing naturally. And even comparing yourself to someone who's doing it naturally doesn't make any sense, let alone someone who's actually taking drugs and someone who can, get really, really fast results, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not getting anywhere near as good of a result. So why is this happening, right? And this is why, as a natural lifter, I often tell guys, as a good rule of thumb, like if you're looking at, a physique, in a year you can build a really good physique. Couple of years, you're going to build an amazing physique. In like 5+ years of training, you're going to definitely stand out. But even then, you're not going to stand out much with your shirt on. As a natural, you probably will never stand out that much if you have your shirt on and your clothes and things like that. But generally, it will take years. So building a physique takes years. Revealing a physique can take months. Because to build a physique, let's say you spent 5 years and you haven't really done any diet phases, you haven't really gone into learning how to manage your nutrition, how to manage your recovery while you're losing fat and all of that. And then yeah, you can spend some months, and yeah, after spending some months on a fat loss phase, you actually reveal all the gains that you made up until that point. But that's the difference, right? Understanding the difference between months and years. And it took me such a long time to figure this out, because I was like, am I there yet? Like first year of training, like, am I there yet? Why am I looking at my friends who are, lifting for years and like my muscle and my physique just doesn't look as hard. It doesn't look as dense. It doesn't look as matured. And it doesn't look as good. And they're much stronger than me and all of that. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Then I started realizing, look, if you're going to do this naturally, it's going to take you years. And I was very frustrated in the first year of training because of that. So that's the one thing that I want to mention here to begin with, is to have really good expectations and to know that, look, your journey is your own journey. And if you're seeing improvements in your physique, and if you every year you look back and you see yourself and you just look much better and you're getting closer and closer to your ideal, at some point you're going to realize, damn, I actually look like my ideal physique, which is awesome, right? That's exactly where you need to be. And at that point, a lot of people just maintain, or they just kind of gradually get some more improvements and get stronger, or switch their goal. Maybe they go powerlifting, they switch to some kind of skill-based sport, whatever it is. But it really took me years to get to a point where, you know, if I would, let's say, take off my shirt and if I'd go to the beach, it would definitely stand out, and it would definitely be, you know, something that, oh, okay, like this guy knows what he's talking about. And then it took me more and more years to actually become a coach and to know as much as so I can help other people. And this is, again, an evolution which I went through, is that first, I had no clue about anything. Then I got gradually into it, and I started learning a little bit about training, but it was mostly following other people's advice and other people's plans. And then when I got some results myself, and then after years and years of training and getting better and better and better, then I only, okay, it started looking like I have much better results than to begin with, and actually am above average. Now then I get interested in helping other people, because then you start getting questions and people are asking like, okay, how did you actually do this? So then you can actually start helping people. And not only then, but when you start understanding of like how human physiology works, it's not just that you got results for yourself, but now you're able to get results for other people, and you start understanding how human physiology works and how you need to actually approach this whole thing, because being able to get results for yourself is not the same thing as being able to get someone else through a journey to get them amazing results. And this is where a lot of people fail to realize that the huge difference it takes to be an athlete and a coach. It's like a whole different journey. It's a whole different ball game. And just because something worked for you personally, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for your clients. And I've had many situations where something that I was a really big fan of, it just didn't work out for my clients as well, and it just didn't work out in general for anybody but myself, which is very, very interesting. And same thing, some things that work for my clients I would not be able to do, or my body just doesn't respond as well. Some of them can train much harder, much longer, tolerates some repetition ranges better than me, and it's just very, very different. That's a part of an art of coaching, is to realize that there's so many differences between people. And the second thing, guys, the first one was more managing expectations. The second thing that I made a mistake on my fitness journey is who I was taking advice from, right? So initially, when I just started out, I was taking advice from people who were, just looking good. So I would see a guy in the gym, he would look good, he would have, the type of physique that I wanted to go through, or the type of physique that was just ahead of me. I just thought, okay, that guy looks better. And I would go around and I would ask those guys for advice. And yeah, those guys, they were very confident in the stuff that they were saying. And as most people are, I would actually sometimes ask advice for guys that even were like kind of my own training experience level, and I just get a little bit better results. I'm like, okay, that guy must know something, because my nature is very curious. And as I was basically, taking this advice in, I failed to realize that the sign of a true expert is that the expert will acknowledge how much he doesn't know. So this is the problem with when you're talking to guys. This is how you can know who is actually legit and who you can listen to, who you should not listen to, is if someone is very absolutist, if someone says, look, this is what you need to do, just this is exactly what's going to work, and they don't really know you. So they don't know your situation. They don't really do any kind of assessment on you. They have no information about you. And you're like, oh yes, this guy is very confident and he's going to know exactly what I need to do. Or someone who's appealing to their own results. Like, look, this is how I built my chest. So this is exactly how you should train. This is what worked for me. This is exactly what you should do as well. And this is the thing that sidetracked me, I would say, for 2 years. I was following this nonsense from people that were not qualified at all, had no scientific background, had no idea. They just had no idea how to help you. And even though they didn't know how to help you, they didn't know how much they didn't know. And that's a sign of a true expert. A true expert, when I talk to some of my mentors from this, like researchers from this field, they're the most humble and like most genuine people that you can possibly meet when it comes to knowledge. And they know that they've been studying, like a guy who's studying muscle hypertrophy for like 30 years. And when you talk to that guy, you have the impression of like, there's so much left in the field to find out. and compared to talking to a guy who is who is, let's say, a guy who's been doing it for a year in the gym, and he's going to be like, oh, okay, this is exactly how you build muscle. These are the 5 steps. This is what you need to do. This is exactly what's going to happen, and here's how it all works. That's a sign that you need to run away from that person as fast as you can. Shout out to my buddy Radu here in the comments. He's a badass. Definitely check out his channel. Great advice for fitness and life in general. Now going back on the topic, it's really about that, guys. So a lot of YouTube that you're gonna find, and a lot, because we're talking about YouTube now, Instagram is the same, Facebook is the same, is you really want to know who to take advice from and to be able to put that advice into context. So when you just feel like someone is, too sure of themselves, and someone is very like black and white in their thinking, and they don't try to explain to you the nuance and how this might work, how this might not work, how to actually test it out, and how to actually see if it works for you, and give you like a really good process, that's probably not the person you would want to learn from. As that person most likely doesn't know how to get results for other people than themselves, right? And that's a huge, huge problem in this industry, is that it's the good old Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Is that the person who knows a little bit, they think they know a lot more than they really know. And it's the same thing when we're talking about, let's say, investing, right? If you talk to anybody about investing, they're gonna be like giving you all these recommendations. Hey, yeah, these are the stocks you should invest in. This is the portfolio. Oh, you should buy Bitcoin. You should invest in Nvidia or like AMD or Intel or Apple. And they just know all this stuff. And if you actually ask them, okay, what's the, how much money did you make? Have you ever actually helped anybody make any money? Have you ever actually gone through the process of like losing? What are your failures? What's happening? They're like, oh, I don't know anything about that. I just know how this works because this guy or this someone told me, or I kind of know. And this is what you're gonna see in your life, is when you observe conversations with people in your life, try to talk to someone about nutrition. Everybody's a nutrition expert. Like, everybody thinks they're a nutrition expert, right? Talk to anybody. Talk to like my 70-year-old grandmother. If you ask her, she's gonna give you some kind of nutrition advice. Everybody, every guy in the gym is a workout expert, right? And this is what you want to be very, very careful about, because some people are naturally very persuasive, and some people are naturally very, very good at presenting their case, and they can be very, very confident in what they're saying, which can give you the illusion that they actually know what they're talking about. But here's a hint: a true expert might not be as confident as you might think. A true expert will tell you, okay, here's the scope of how much we actually know, and here's the vast amount of knowledge that we still have to discover, which is very, very, like, it's not very confident, right? It's very tricky, and you're like, oh, damn, this guy doesn't know that much. But that's because he knows what are the current limitations, and because he knows the current limitations, he can actually tell you how to approach the whole situation, how to go beyond science or beyond kind of N=1 experiment, which is basically yourself. For you, the science would be a starting point, and you actually have to take it over. And somewhat to my nutrition, but it's more like to my training, is that I would consistently be overtraining myself. And by that I mean, like, I would not honor stress. I would not honor my recovery periods, right? It took me about 3 years to discover that it's actually about recovery as much as it is about pushing yourself and knowing how to push yourself while at the same time you can recover. Because I love training, right? And I love going to the gym, and I love pushing myself hard. But sometimes I would fail to realize the connection between other areas of my life and stress that was coming from business or relationships or travel and other phases like that, where I was going through something very intense, and I didn't realize how much that would affect me in the gym. And this is where I would fail to acknowledge that this whole stress goes into the same bucket as training and life stress go into the same place. And if I was paying more close attention to my stress, I probably could have avoided some of the injuries that I've had, like with my shoulder, with my knee, and I could probably get better progress, and I would feel happier as a whole, as a person, because I made myself miserable through many phases of deep immersion because I try to achieve many things at the same time. So I try to improve my business at the same time as get my gym progressions, and I was pushing really hard in both of those directions. Then I'd also be, traveling. I would also be working on, like trying to solve like more social, relationship, family, and all these other issues. And at the same time, I wasn't really progressing in any area of my life, and I was really stressed out about everything. And now I'm much more focused. I know how to prioritize, and I know how to actually pick out which area needs to be the main focus for that period of time. And if I was better at that initially, I would have probably gotten better results. Because at some point, I remember second or third year of training, I wasn't actually progressing in anything because I was too stressed to recover from training, and my training volume was kept really high because I thought that I would lose muscle if I would train anything less than like super high volume. I was probably doing like 20 sets per body part per week, even more, which is ridiculous for that level of experience. At the same time, I was trying to build multiple businesses, so I was trying to really engage in many different activities. I was like going out. I was trying to like improve myself socially a lot, and I was also like dealing with some family, all this other stuff, because most of families, they don't really give you the type of support initially when you try to like, oh, I'm gonna quit my job and like travel the world and build an online business. You don't get that kind of support like from day one, right? You need some time to actually do that. So all that stress combined, I wasn't actually progressing in any area, and I was very, very like anxious all the time. I would not have fun at all, and I wouldn't really enjoy my time. So there would be a whole year that I really didn't enjoy much, and it was just all of a sudden constant struggle. And I actually came to a realization that if I'm not able to be happy at that moment with everything that I'm doing, the likelihood of me being happy by continuing to do that was really, really low. So I set my priorities. I've actually reduced my training at some point to actually training 3 days per week. I focused massively on business, figured that out, and I got much better at that. I actually started this YouTube channel because of that. This YouTube channel was not even meant to be started. If I continued to do what I was doing, I would never start this YouTube channel. This was the late 2015 or so when I started like actually looking at YouTube. I would never be able to put out a video every single day if I hadn't figured out my business and my coaching and everything else before I entered that phase of 1 year of immersion where I did daily videos. And when I was doing daily videos for a whole year, everything else actually suffered or was on maintenance. That's really how it works. And at least for me, I just spread myself too thin for a very long time, and I couldn't actually figure that out. And now I'm much more wiser, and obviously I know much more about programming and training and how to adjust the volume to fit these phases. But back then I didn't really have that knowledge, and I also didn't have much knowledge when it comes to building a business and doing all these other things. So it was massive learning. It was really like pushing me outside of the comfort zone, but I managed to recover, and I'm glad that I came out of that alive. Now the other thing, and the last thing that I would mention here actually, and we have a few questions here that is pretty cool, and I appreciate you guys. I'm going to check out those questions. Is really the realization. There's one realization that I've made, I think, that made all this possible, and that's the realization is that nothing in your life is going to change before you change yourself, right? This is a huge one for me, because where I come from, and generally where like the Balkan area, like if you look at Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Slovenia, all these countries that were communist countries, we weren't really brought up with the mindset like people are generally brought up in the Western society, where you're taught that you can do whatever you want to do, right? You can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. We're more brought with like the mindset of, stability, being very prevention focused, so don't risk too much, because if you lose everything, you're going to be in trouble. We're also brought up with more of like this mindset of that your reality is somewhat determined by your environment, and that's really how it should be, and that's not something you should fight against. And this is really interesting, because it took me a long time to actually figure out that, I was waiting for the world to change, right? I was waiting for the circumstances to get better. When I had a job, I was waiting for Friday and Saturday to have fun, right? When I had when it was winter, I would be waiting for summer for actually to make my, to be better and to be happier. Then I realized that I was basically waiting all the time for something. I was consistently waiting, and it actually took me a couple of years to realize that my life was all about waiting for something. Think about that. If you spend your life waiting, when are you going to be happy? Like, if your happiness depends on something that is expandable as the Friday, as the summer, because there's all these changes that are happening all the time, so it's never really constant. And this is very interesting with the environment as well. If I look at all my friends now, and if I look at, some of them are really successful, and those that are really successful are those that had to reinvent themselves, and those that managed to put the ego aside. Being very, very egoistic and being aware of your self-image as much, being protective of your self-image, and determining your self-worth by how other people view you is a very common trait of people where I'm from. And I don't know if it is like that. And I mean, I travel all around the world. I don't know if the upbringing is like that in most parts of the world. Probably is in some parts even worse. And I think we're not that far off, but we're still not in the most ideal scenario where you're kind of given a proper introduction to the world that you are actually in control over your own destiny to a very large extent. Now, this is very interesting because you're talking and you're actually listening to someone now who's made all excuses that you could possibly make up until that realization that, look, I need to start changing myself, otherwise my life will always be the same and I'm never gonna be happy, right? So it took such a long time for me to get there. It took a very long time, much longer than I actually than it should, because I thought, hey, the government is going to be better after the next election, it's going to get better, or let's say after after this year, when I get the promotion, it's going to be better, or when I get this relationship, it's going to be better, then I'm going to be happier, or when my dad gets this promotion or something happens, it's going to be better. And it really never gets better unless you're happy with what you have right now. You're probably not going to be happy after that small event, because success doesn't happen as a consequence of one single breakthrough. It is small increments over time. So if your increments are happening yearly and they're very tiny increments, it's going to take you a very long time to reach your success. Instead, your increments should be happening much more frequently, and you should be in general happy with each one of those, and you should be striving to make as much as possible, instead of doing what I used to do, is basically wait, right? So wait until it gets better, wait until something gets, because that waiting was, for me, it's like, okay, well, I'm relieving myself of all responsibility for change, then I'm gonna wait for something else. And that was a huge mistake, I think, in the first and the second year training. Even that was huge. I just thought everything would be better in my life if I just did, just kind of wait out and make sure that it's gonna be much better. And guess what? If I go back home right now, this is almost 10 years later, it's actually not in any way, like if I compare, it didn't improve at all, almost. And now I'm living a much different life. I travel to 50 countries, probably even more now. I even lost count. I pretty much have enough finances to do whatever the hell I want. I have a great physique that I'm really proud of, and I love my health, and I'm very energetic, and I love my life right now. I have a great girlfriend, my family is home, and we're all good, and everything is awesome. And if I still look back, and if I look at the same things that I looked at like 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, if I look at those things are exactly the same. The government is exactly doing the same damn thing as they always do, so they're probably going to be doing the same damn thing in 10 years from now. The whatever European laws or whatever they change and all that nonsense, nothing really made anybody's life better. Nothing really changed in terms of like the climate or anything, like a couple of new roads and things like that. Like something was better. Some companies made a little bit of better gains, but not that much. Nothing really changed except me. Like I'm the only thing that changed, right? And the people that also changed like me, they're now living a much better life versus all those people that I go back and I talk to them and they waited. they're in the exact same situation they were 10 years ago. So this is a huge lesson. If I can give you one thing out of this whole thing that I talked about here, is like absolutely nothing will change until you start taking action, and until you start viewing every single day as an opportunity to give yourself one extra increment, one little level up, and one little push to get closer to your goals, and have your goals and have your own world that you're building in parallel to whatever the hell is happening out there. Have something yours. Have something that you're investing in, have something that you're building that doesn't depend on anybody else, and really invest your time in that, because that is ultimately your best bet to reach that state where when you're happy and where you're pleased and you're satisfied, and you really have something of yours that you've built and you invested and helped other people, if it's something related to that. And most of that stuff will be helping other people, because by you helping yourself, you can then help other people more, because you can't help other people if you don't help yourself. Like if you're meditating on a tree and you're ignoring reality, and you're not really contributing at all, and you're not really doing anything that is improving yourself other than mindset and mental masturbation, how are you going to be able to help someone else with that, and nobody even knows about you? Right? So that was my big inspiration, is that I realized also, if I want to help other people, if I want to help my community, if I want to help my family, if I want to help myself, I have to start out with me, right? I have to be better to be able to help them. And if I'm my old self, and if I'm not getting any better, I'm just pretty much pushing that responsibility onto someone else. And same for you guys that are watching this stream. You all have families, you all have people that you care about. And the truth is, we're actually going to do things for other people that are things that we wouldn't do for ourselves, right? So a lot of times that I talk to my clients who are successful entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're consultants, they're high performers in general. And some of the reasons why they go to my program and why they join my program, why they work with me, is not just to, I would say like it's more like 25% of them want to do it for themselves and to really see how much they can push their limits and how much they can achieve. But I would say a vast majority, about 75% of them, are doing it for their kids. They're doing it for their family. They're doing it for their future kids. Like they know they had a dad who died of a heart attack. They had a dad who was really overweight, and he couldn't go out with them to anything active, couldn't play, he was always tired. He didn't have the energy to do things like that. Or they had a dad who was really struggling all the time with financially, and that's why they started a business, that's why they wanted to be better. And they really have that kind of motivation, is that they want to be better for someone else in their life. And that's really, I think, a lot of my motivation for the things that I do as well. Is not just for myself, it's a great satisfaction, but I actually get a lot more satisfaction of seeing how people around me thrive and how much better their lives are because my life and I'm working on myself. And I think that's a good way to look at things from what I'm seeing as I worked with a lot of people. We're talking about hundreds of people around the world, and I could tell you that those guys that they go the extra mile, often that extra mile is for their kid or for their parent or for someone else in their life that they really want to go that extra mile for. And it's sometimes for yourself, right? It is sometimes for yourself, and you got to acknowledge both. But for a lot of times, it's for someone else. And this is why you can always find motivation to push yourself, is because you will have people that depend on you. And actually a good feeling is that you are someone people can rely on. That's a very good feeling, right? That's a very, very good feeling. And that's a feeling that, when you have that feeling, like, look, I'm there for other people and people can rely on me because I'm healthy, I'm full of energy, I'm focused, I can help you out in any way possible. I'm in really good shape and I know actually how to help you, even financially or however other type of help they need, emotionally, financially, physically, whatever they need. It's a really, really good feeling because the world needs more people like that. Like the world doesn't need more people who leech value. The world doesn't need people that are dependent on other people. The world needs people that you can be this person that other people can rely on, that you can inspire, you can be the one who's pushing. And that's how we're going to grow as a society. For the most part of what I'm seeing is that you're going to have a lot more of these these like superheroes, right, in your surrounding, which will elevate the standards for how the person should behave, or how good their life can get, which is really really cool. And I mean, that's one thing I'm aspiring, is to create those superheroes, those dads that are in really good shape with a six-pack and are fucking killing it. That's really what I'm aspiring to, and not just dads, but guys in their early 30s, guys in their 20s. Because if you look at the average dude, when he's like 30, he already has like a huge belly. He's like very average, you see him, he looks like he's 40. He's very low energy, he doesn't really hustle hard, doesn't look like he's very motivated to live life. And is that the type of dude that is gonna actually push this whole world to be a better place? Probably not, right? It's just kind of coping, and it's kind of like going again with the flow. What we need is, we need more people who are gonna step up. They're gonna make the world better, and they're gonna actually be that inspirational guy. And that guy is gonna be able to push everything. So I know this is turning a little bit off topic to what I just said, but that's just going deeper into my motivation and how I'm looking at the world right now. And that's also one of the things that initially that wasn't the case. If I look at back in my fitness journey, my motivation was more superficial, I would say. It didn't go very deep initially. And that's one of the, I think, mistakes that guys make right now, is that they're expecting, this motivation to be exactly laid out from day one, and that it's really deep, and that it goes very, very, that it goes with all these high purpose things that I'm talking about, which doesn't have to be the case. Whatever motivates you to get started is good enough if you get started and if you start taking action. And as you start taking action, your motivation is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're going to get better and better and better. And you're going to understand yourself more. You're going to learn more about yourself. The stuff that I'm talking to you about right now, I didn't know this stuff about myself when I started out. I started out as like, look, I just want to be strong. I want to get better. I want to improve. And that's really how, I looked at it in the beginning. I want to be muscular. I want to feel powerful. I want to be strong. I want to be confident. I want people, I want what I have, a vision of myself here, I want it to show outside. I want people to see, look, this is a successful guy. He doesn't settle for average. He's going to absolutely crush it. So that was like the initial motivation for me. And yeah, it could be like watching superhero, like animes, like Dragon Ball Z and things like that. Initially, that was kind of like, as a kid, I was always looking at that, because I was a fairly weak kid. So I was always looking at, superheroes, how to be one and things like that. But that's kind of how you start. But then your motivation, as you get better and better, it gets deeper and deeper, and you start understanding yourself more and what drives you. Because when you're pushing that last rep on a specific exercise that is really, really, really hard, and you need to dig for that motivation, that's when you're going to dig deep, and you're going to discover certain things that weren't actually there before. When you need to do a training session, when you just don't feel like it, you need to find something, and you're going to only be able to find those things through action. They are really hard to find, and I would say, I hate to use the word impossible, but I highly doubt that someone would just be able to find this type of motivation just meditating passively, not doing anything, and just thinking about it. It just doesn't happen. While you're in the trenches, while you're fighting for it, that's when you can find yourself. You can find your true motivations. They're going to come, they're going to be much stronger, much quicker. You're going to understand yourself more, and that's going to keep driving you, and it's going to also become a part of your identity of who you are. And once you know who you are and you have a really strong established identity, that's when you can actually deal with a negative environment. That's when a negative environment doesn't become a problem. It's not a problem anymore, because your identity is so strong that you're repelling all those negative influences. People will not even hang out with you who mean bad stuff and who don't support you. They're just gonna see that it's not it's just not a fit. And you're gonna start experiencing much better results overall now, because you're also polarizing the people that will support your new identity, and you're gonna repel people that don't. And that's really another thing that is gonna make you better, because it's an upward spiral that doesn't end with just you getting better. Now you're getting all this support as well, and then people are encouraging you to get better, and again it gets you better, and it's all like a a very, very self-sustaining upward spiral, which keeps making your life better. So cool, guys. So I'm going to look at some of the comments right now, because there's some really, really cool stuff in the chat happening here. Everybody give me a second here just to check out the comments section below. Let's see. Ivan said here he was cutting for first 8 months, and then after 8 months of consistency, I lost all the motivation to work out and eat good. Do you have any tips on that? This actually kind of builds up on what I just said. And look, 8 months of anything, when we're talking about like a fat loss phase, that's a very long fat loss phase. I would definitely recommend having breaks and periods of maintenance within those. Let's say every 4 months or so, you have a maintenance phase to stabilize. And you also want to look at different goals as well, to set different goals for yourself. So your goals are not just tied to the body weight scale. You also want to tie your goals to how strong you are getting in the gym. So think of this more as like an athlete, and also looking at self-reflecting on how much your life is better now that you know about all this stuff, that you're eating healthier, you're more focused, you're more energized. And one thing I'll say, 8 months or 10 months or 4 months or years or however many, it shouldn't make any difference in your mindset, because your mindset is when you make a decision to live a healthy lifestyle, that's a decision that you made to live a healthy lifestyle until the day you die. Because if you don't keep doing the things that you're doing to stay healthy and to get the things that get you healthy are the same things that are going to keep you healthy, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be sustainable long term. So guys that do this for years, and some of my clients that have been with me for years, and myself, is I just view this, hey, these are the things that I'm gonna have to do until I die. That's just a part of being a human being, is taking care of your body to be able to live the life to your fullest potential. And that's just the way it is, right? So it's not a finite journey that you can say, well, I'm gonna do this for 16 weeks, or I'm gonna do this for 8 months, or I'm gonna do this for 6 months. It's not like that. It's like when you make that decision, I'm going to be that person, that you're that person until the end, man. That's just the way it is. Because the biggest issue actually with weight loss is that it's not just losing the weight, that most people actually regain. I would say I think more than 95% of people within 2 years regain all the weight that they've lost, which is insane, right? So losing it is not a problem, but the problem is actually staying on course and changing your lifestyle, changing who you are. That's what it means by changing the lifestyle. And that's why I say, this, and I always say this, look, this is not a diet, this is a lifestyle. And diet actually means lifestyle if you actually go to the root cause, the root definition of the word. And now, what caused it to change over time, I don't know, to become like this 8-week phase or 12-week phase or whatever. We're not going to get into semantics now, but this whole change that you're trying to do is I'm living a new lifestyle, and that lifestyle is something that is not finite. It's just basically a lifestyle that you keep living like that. And that's one realization that you also have to make on this journey, because it's fair to be like use it or lose it. That's just the way it is, right? That's the way everything is. Like, you either maintain it, you put in the effort, you invest in it, or you lose it. And it's not gonna you're not gonna lose it over a couple of weeks, but yeah, like months of no training, years of no training, it's like you just lost everything you built. And that's only fair that is like that. That's just how the world works. The world doesn't care about whether it's fair or not. It's just how it works. It's a rule. It's not something that has any kind of emotion in it. So that's just how it operates. Cool. Let me check in here with some more questions. That was a really good question, because it's very common to lose motivation after a while. And motivation is often lost because you stop, you don't refresh your goals, you don't really have any extra things that you want to achieve. And you're not looking at this long term, you're looking at it more like a short term thing. You're not taking enough breaks, you're not considering other areas of your life and how those things interact with this area of your life. And the whole fitness thing is a piece of a puzzle. Like your life is a puzzle, and the fitness thing is a piece of a puzzle. Once you put that piece in there, you shouldn't be taking that piece out of the puzzle, right? It's just not gonna work like that. Once you put that piece in there, keep it in there and start putting other pieces in there as well. And that's how you build like a great life, is by, you know, continuously pushing yourself in all areas. But don't go backward in any area. Like keep it as it is, like keep pushing forward, right? Cool. Let me check in some more questions here. How do you train a beginner? Stefano asked here. Well, if you're just a beginner, you know, one of the way we work and the process that we work when I get a client, right? So first thing you do when you come to us is we have a talk with you to check in. First we see, you know, what's your situation. We do a full assessment on where you're at. We look at your training, we look at your nutrition, we look at everything. If you're an absolute beginner, we then obviously don't have a lot of information about your training, but then we look at your, I mean, in general, we look at your lifestyle. We'll look at, you know, how to design your week, how to design your day, how to actually put all this together so you can stick to a plan. And then we look at your past history of, let's say, engaging in sports and which sports you've done, how stressful is your life, how much sleep you're getting, how is your nutrition right now, what's your experience with nutrition, have you ever followed any other diets? Like we look at absolutely everything as a part of like a really in-depth assessment when you first come to us, and we also see if it's a really good fit in terms of mindset, because a lot of clients that, potential clients that reach out to me, are a great fit in terms of their mindset, but there's also people that just reach out and they just want to get ripped in like 3-4 weeks, and oftentimes we just decline those applications because I can't work with those people. They're just not there in terms of their mindset. I often send them videos like this one where we talk about this, and there's a huge process that they have to go through in order to qualify, because if I'm going to work with someone for 6 months, I mean, I really want to make sure that they're a good fit for me and that I'm the right fit for them as well. And beginners, we don't often take beginners, but we do work with, we definitely do work with some guys who are really motivated, have the great mindset, and you know, they're just a pleasure to work with. You can kind of sense for if the person is cool and if they're a really good person to work with. Cool. Awesome. Let me see other questions here. There's been a few that I missed. Awesome, guys. Great questions. Stuff like, I'm going to scroll up a little bit here. Let me see here. Yeah, put your questions in the comments as well. We have a little bit of a delay, but someone asked here, are cheat meals on a bulk detrimental? Well, I personally don't like to use the word cheat because you're just using the word cheat implies that you're doing something bad. That's something that I don't like to use at all with my clients. I mean, if your diet is very good, why do you need to cheat on it? Like if your setup is awesome. So the way I kind of view it, if there is a need for strategic refeeds or more calories or diet breaks, that's a part of an overall plan. I just don't like the whole idea of like, hey, I'm just gonna go and just YOLO and just gonna eat as much crappy food as I can find. Because putting crappy food in your body is not really gonna contribute to anything. Like it's not, it maybe in some people, you know, it gives you some of this satisfaction, but for the most part, what I found is that people don't really like to do the whole like YOLO cheat, you know, like let's go out of our way to find as much crappy, you know, candy or saturated fat and high sugar combinations of food. People just don't like to do that in general. People who take care of their health and who, you know, value their body, they don't like to do that. There's a place and time for refeeds. There's a place and time for diet breaks. There's a place and time for including tasty food in there. like eating out and things like that. But just specifically having cheat days or cheat meals, I just don't even like the concept, and we don't use it. In my programs, I do not use any of cheat days, cheat meals. I just don't like the whole idea. We have different ways to include all kinds of foods if you want to eat those. But for the most part, people are looking for a lifestyle change. They've been eating crap for a long time already, and they're just not interested in that anymore. Cool. Awesome. Those are really great questions. Someone asked me here is, what's your take on vegan gains? I don't know what that means. I know there's a YouTube channel called Vegan Gains. And there's someone asking here, what's your take on some guy called... well, there's two things that I want to mention here. So number one, I don't know what the question means, like when you say, what's your take on? Like, I just don't know what that means. Like, I never understood actually when people say, like, what's your take on? Because that's not something I would ever ask, and it just doesn't seem like it gives any context for any kind of answer. So it's almost like you're fishing for something, but you're not sure what you want to get out of it. The second thing is that I want to mention here is that if you ask my opinion about someone, like another person, that's really not something I like to talk about. So one of my personal rules that I don't know if you guys have sort of rules for yourself. One of my personal rules is to not talk about other people. So someone here asked about a doctor. One of my personal kind of rules is not to talk about another person, right? I can talk about ideas that other people presented. I can talk about like some of their concepts or their research or their or something that they've done. Yeah, that's what we can discuss, but a person, I just don't engage in that kind of discussion. I know that this is very counter modern YouTube, where people like to call people out and they like to, do all kinds of stuff. I don't engage in that kind of stuff. I think that's very low value behavior, and for me, it doesn't really add any value to my life, or I don't think it actually adds value to anybody else's life. If someone is, let's say, putting out really bad advice, I will critique the advice, but I will not critique the person, because I don't think that there's that many people. There's some people that are inherently bad, but I don't think that a person should be like called out for like an ad hominem. Instead, their methods should be critiqued, and their methods that can be improved if they're actually, removing their ego out of the equation, which is a whole different ball game there. Making gains as a vegan, that is definitely possible. I have a lot of vegan clients actually, and they have amazing gains, and they have there's really no difference between, if you do things right, you can have a great physique as a vegan. I see no reason in having that as an excuse for not doing things right. One thing I will say, that if you're a vegan, you better be well educated. Same as if you're a vegetarian. You don't want to be this vegan and vegetarian that is just eating junk and processed food all the time. That's what I found with a lot of vegans, vegetarians who are they're just switching to that type of diet, but they're not really eating healthy, which that's something I don't understand, right? So if you're looking to eat healthy, and if you switch to a vegan vegetarian diet, and you should eat mainly like vegetables, fruits, plants, as any diet, by the way, like every diet is a plant-based diet. So every healthy diet is a plant-based diet. Whether you include meat or not include meat, it's a plant-based diet. So most of the food that you should eat actually are plants. So this is really what's going on, right? So in your diet, this is what should be happening. So one thing I see with a lot of vegans and vegetarians is that half of their diet turns out to be these like vegan protein bars, like processed food, all kinds of junk, sauces, like all kinds of nonsense. And that's, again, like defeating the point. Like, it's not a healthy diet anymore I mean, it's better than like just eating a whole bunch of crap all the time, but it's still, like, again, a diet full of processed foods where you don't take care of your micronutrition balance, you don't really do any blood work, you don't check out what's your, what's your nutritional status and things, and that you're basically doing more damage than you're doing good. And this is when you're very uneducated. So I would say if you're a vegan or vegetarian, make sure that you actually follow a good diet, well-planned out diet, and that you're doing everything right, and that you're getting help if you don't know how to do that right. You see a lot of stuff out there people do, you're trying to wing it. Some things are harder to just randomly stumble upon a good solution. One of them is when you have limitations, like in the vegan diet, where food choices are a little bit limited depending on your location where you live. You got to be really knowledgeable to know what to do, what to not do, to stay healthy and to be better and to actually improve your performance and to improve your physique, right? Cool. So great questions, everybody. I will I will check out the other questions as well. Actually, one thing that I want to mention here is, yeah, my stream has a little bit of a lag here. I hope you guys, this was not a bad thing for you guys, and I hope the quality is actually good. One thing I will mention here is that there's going to be some cool announcements coming forward. I'm going to be doing some more like these live streams and potentially even some more like regular videos. I like this style where I can actually go live and when I can do some conversations. I know there's a little bit of lag right now. I don't know why. Hope that actually passes by. This recording will be staying on the channel. For everybody watching this on a replay, make sure to put your questions in the comments because those inspire me for the next live stream, so I can actually then take those questions and then I can make a new live stream and I can answer those questions first and we can get into some of those cool things. So guys, thanks for watching. For everybody, for coaching, for mentoring, there's going to be a few links in the description below for you guys to check out. There's a presentation on my website there. There's also a link for like a coaching program for mentoring where you can apply. We're going to assess your situation, as I said earlier. This is, I would say, like one thing is that the coaching is really just for serious guys who are already, you figured out your business, you kind of figured out your life to some extent, and you really want help with the fitness side of things. This is where we come in. Like if your life is currently a mess and if you don't really know like where it's headed, if you're a student and you kind of have to figure that out, there's a lot of stress financially and there's a lot of stress from relationships or some other things, and fitness is not that important for you right now, and if you're just kind of looking for some small thing to do, we don't really work with people that are not like super dedicated to a phase in their life where they can just work on their fitness. So that's really what we're working on right now, and we mainly work with entrepreneurs, as I said. So we have a mastermind where entrepreneurs are inside and other consultants, so we normally have those requirements and we do an assessment. Again, we try to help out everybody as much as we can. We do these assessments on people when they apply to join, and we can tell you exactly what's the situation on our end and what we're looking for. Again, the mindset is really important, so no quick fix mindset, like no like get ripped in 3 weeks. If you're thinking like that, I don't know what you're doing on this channel in general. Other things as well is like our group is very, very important, like group mentality. So you got to be really a part of a mastermind where you can contribute as well with your knowledge, what you're bringing to the table, because other guys will help you in other areas of your life, and obviously in mentoring and fitness, that's where I come in. So thanks guys for watching. I will check you guys soon. Thanks everybody. Follow on Instagram. I actually do a lot of stories. If you guys are not on Instagram yet, on my Instagram, you can find me there. It's Mario, Tomich. I'm gonna put it here in the chat, so you guys can definitely get some stories there and things that are happening with my life, like in general. Like I'm on the beach, I'm doing things like that. I just had my birthday completely documented in stories. I just had my birthday a few days ago. It was really, really cool to share that kind of stuff on Instagram. I also do lives there. And yeah, guys, you can find a lot of good stuff there. I post more frequently than on anywhere else. So yeah, see you guys there. And yeah, talk to you guys soon.